What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is the Jose Show. Happy Wednesday. Now, we have a lot of stuff to cover on today's show, so now let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let's start off this show by congratulating Taylor Swift for finally regaining her own music. Oh my goodness. So, in a lengthy note posted to her official website on Friday, Swift announced all of the music I've ever made now belongs to me. So the pop star said she bought her catalog of recordings originally released through Big Machine Records from their most recent owner, the private equity firm Shamrock Capital. She did not disclose the amount. So in recent years, Swift has been re-recording and releasing her first 6 albums in an attempt to regain control of her music. So she got to say, "I can't thank you enough for helping to reunite me with this art that I have dedicated my life to, but have never owned until now." Swift addressed fans in the post, "The best things that have ever been mine finally actually are. So we are thrilled with this outcome and are so happy for Taylor," Shamrock Capital said in a statement. Alright, so anywho, Swift's recordings were instigated by Hype America CEO Scooter Braun's purchase and sale of her early catalog and represents Swift's effort to control her own songs and how they are used. Alright, so previous Taylor's version releases have been more than conventional re-recordings, arriving with new from the vault music, Easter eggs, and visuals that deepen understanding of her work. So this is all according to South China Morning Post, by the way, that is saying all of this. I think that this is really cool, and this is very crazy that Taylor Swift is now regaining her own music, because I think it is about damn time that Taylor Swift regains control of her own music, because she deserves to have control of her own music. She worked her ass off throughout so many years to make all of that music, especially with Fearless, Speak Now, Red, her self-titled album, Reputation, 1989. Come on now. I think that it was very evil and it was very malicious from Scooter Braun to buy all of that music in the first place. And I am so glad that then Scooter Braun ended up selling all of that music to Shamrock Capital, which ended up making Shamrock Capital ended up selling all of that music to Taylor Swift, which I believe, like I said, is well deserved. And by the way, that music that Taylor Swift bought of hers ended up costing her, I believe, around $360 million. So that's actually pretty expensive, but I mean, in Taylor Swift's level, I think that's kind of cheap, because I mean, Taylor Swift at this point, I believe she's a billionaire. So to her, I believe it's no big deal after all that she got to be purchasing all of that for like around $360 million. What I also have to say is that, man, now I think it's safe to say that Taylor Swift can promote her own music from the past in the radio. She can promote it in streaming platforms. She can promote it anywhere else without any issue. Okay, and I believe that since she can promote all of that anywhere, I think that now all of us Swifties are going to be enjoying her old music, and we're not going to be listening to the re-recordings. And I believe that it's even better, by the way, that we're going to be enjoying her older music than her re-recordings, because I believe that there's nothing better than to be listening to her old recordings from the past, her original recordings from the past, because that is actually giving us vibes from the past. It's actually giving us vibes to her, younger voice. And her re-recordings, I believe it's not the same, because it's listening, to her same voice, but but in a more mature tone, and it's like not the same at all. So yeah, and man, I think that now it's even more interesting that Taylor Swift is no longer needing to release Reputation, Taylor's version. She's no longer needing to release her self-titled album, Taylor's version, either. And what's even more interesting about it is that Taylor Swift wasn't even done. re-recording Reputation, Taylor's version, when she ended up buying back her masters. And the reason to why she ended up not finishing the whole entire record was because Taylor Swift did not feel safe enough to be finishing the rest of the album, because she felt like finishing the rest of the album wasn't going to be authentic to her, and it felt like it was going to be a whole entire weird thing for her in some way. So yeah, and all of us, we were expecting for Taylor Swift to be releasing the re-recording of Reputation, around the month of August, September, October, because we were all getting these little hints, supposedly, from Taylor Swift that we were going to be getting Taylor's version of Reputation really soon. But I believe that all those supposed hints were just, a bunch of imaginations from us, probably. But anywho, congratulations to Taylor Swift for finally regaining control of her own music from the past, man. I am so happy for her. I am proud of her. And yeah, I guess that the Taylor's version nickname is going to be an old thing from the past from now on. That's for sure. All right, and you know what? Last but not least, you are a hardworking woman, Taylor Swift, and please be careful with the record labels and with the situations that you put yourself into from now on, please, because we do not want to see you in a situation where you are where your own music is getting controlled by somebody else. Okay, now on to the next topic. Now let's talk about something really serious. So Jonathan Joss unfortunately got shot and killed this past Sunday. Well, Jonathan Joss, the King of the Hill voice actor who got shot and killed this past Sunday, was a deeply complicated man whose demons helped lead to his tragic fate, his ex-girlfriend tells TMZ. Well, Brandy Trejo, who dated Joss for 13 years during the height of his career, tells us that Joss was the most self-destructive person she ever met, and to her, it seemed like he couldn't stand it when something good happened to him. Okay, so what's more is that Brandy says she witnessed him drive his neighbors crazy for years with his outbursts and outlandish behavior, so when she learned a neighbor allegedly killed him in an argument, she was not shocked. Alright, so as previously reported by TMZ, Sigfredo Ceja Alvarez bailed out of jail on Wednesday and will be confined to house arrest awaiting trial after he allegedly fatally shot Joss Sunday evening. He's been charged with murder. The actor's husband, Tristan Kern de Gonzalez, called the shooting a homophobic hate crime. Despite Tristan's statement, San Antonio police declared there's no evidence of a hate crime. Alright, so as Brandy explains, Joss was a loose cannon who liked to make trouble, obviously not an excuse for killing him, and she believes he had undiagnosed mental health issues that he only made worse with drugs and booze. Alright, so, and it gets even better from here, ladies and gentlemen. This girl, Brandy, wasn't just the girlfriend of Jonathan Joss, she was also the assistant of Jonathan Joss, the unofficial assistant, and handler during that period of his career, and it was up to her to cool him off when he went into a random rage on set. Alright, so this is really insane. I think that, in my opinion here, I think that Jonathan Joss, since he was a very violent and crazy person, I think that unfortunately he did cause a lot of issues with his own life, and I believe that he was the own cause of his own death. And of course, the person that got to shoot him, of course, was also the cause of his own death, because, I mean, come on now, the person was the one that shot Jonathan Joss, but Jonathan Joss, unfortunately, I believe was the one that created the conflict in the first place, as far as what I'm hearing here from TMZ. And I believe that Jonathan Joss should have gone to therapy in order to calm his own temper down, in order to prevent the situation from happening. And he should have also been more patient and more understanding that he really needed to attend therapy in order to attend therapy, because it really seems like it to me that he really wasn't even understanding about the fact that he was somebody that had issues in order for him to be attending therapy. And he was like, nah, I'm fine. I'll be the way I am, and period. And to make matters worse, he was that much of a violent person that his own ex-girlfriend wasn't able to tolerate him at all whatsoever, that she ended up calling it quits with him. And it's so saddening to know that this whole entire violent situation that was going on with this man ended up costing him his own relationship too. But I'm glad though that Brandy ended up getting, safe from the whole entire relationship. And by safe, I mean that thank God that she was not murdered. Thank God that she wasn't, in a situation that she was almost killed by this man. But I do suspect though that this girl that was dating Jonathan Joss might have gotten physically hurt and emotionally abused by this guy, because this guy, like we all know now, was a very violent guy, and he was a guy that really loved to create conflict here and there. And I think though that since he was somebody that was well known for playing John Redcorn on the animated TV sitcom King of the Hill, a lot of people were more focused on that than they were focused on his own violent things that he did behind the camera. Because a lot of people were all like, well, he's dope because he's this and this on King of the Hill. He is, the king of it all, and so, and we'll forever love him and remember him for being this. Which I think is fine that, people were so focused on his own character on King of the Hill, because, so many people love to watch King of the Hill, especially because that show has been around for like 25, 26 years now. But I do feel like people really needed to focus so much more on who he really was as a person in real life. And I'm saying this to all of the people that were not focused on his own violent things. So, anywho, this is so saddening to find out that his ending ended up being by him getting shot and killed, especially because of the fact that he was a very conflictive person. So anywho, may he rest in peace, and he'll forever be remembered. And that is all I have to say about this. Now on to the next topic. Now let's talk about this little dilemma that's going on in between Dakota Johnson and Chris Martin. Well, apparently, according to TMZ, Dakota Johnson and Chris Martin are calling it quits again, and it sounds like this time it could be for good, according to reports. So apparently, the actress and the singer are splitting up, according to People, which cites multiple sources in the know, and one of them told the outlet it feels final this time. Alright, so the A-list couple began their on-again, off-again relationship back in 2017, and they even got engaged a few years back. So, breakup rumors surrounded the couple for a time, but a rep for Johnson denied the rumors. Back in August of 2024, Dakota and Chris were spotted together in India, where Coldplay was touring just a few months later. So Dakota had really become part of Chris's life over the years, talking about how much she loved spending time with his children, adding, "I love those kids like my life depends on it." Alright, so she also got the seal of approval from Chris's ex, Gwyneth Paltrow, who has consistently talked about how much she loves Johnson over the years. Now, TMZ reached out to reps for Chris and Dakota. So far, no word back. So this is really insane that Dakota Johnson and Chris Martin are going on and off with their own relationship, and they can't get their own crap together. I think that they need to find therapy, or they need to find new people to be involved in their lives, because I don't think that it's really normal, and I think that it's really emotionally abusive having to be in a relationship on and off, because you're not getting anywhere that way. You're just finding more issues, you're just finding more ridiculousness, and you aren't really knowing how to keep the relationship stable. And that's exactly what's going on in between Chris and Dakota. I think that they really are playing childish games, especially by going on and off again. And I think that it's also a waste of time what they're doing here, because they are both getting older and older. At this point, they need to find themselves actually a relationship that will actually make their not just life worthy, but also their own emotional worthy, their own emotions worthy. Because yes, I understand that a relationship can't make your life worthy. You yourself can make your own life worthy. Yes, I understand that. But in this case, I also feel that since they are finding a way to make their lives more worthy, they are finding a relationship that will make them happy and that will make them feel so accompanied and this and that. And in this case, they are lacking in that because they are going on and off again. And it's also very irritating. Like, Jesus, I don't know what's going to be of these two, but in my opinion, what I personally also suggest is for them to create so good distance to the point that they won't be remembering one another. They will be so focused on themselves. And then when they feel like they're ready to be in a relationship, instead of going back to themselves, what they should do is they should actually find somebody else to be giving them the love and the cuddliness in their own life. And that will give them the stability into being in a relationship in the end. That's how it should be. Okay, but anywho, man, this is really ridiculous in all levels. That is all I have to say. And one last thing too is that, man, life is too short to be going on with these games. Big time. Okay, life is way too short. Okay, now on to the next topic. Now let's talk about DDG. So DDG has filed an emergency motion to stop Halle Bailey from taking their infant son out of the country, claiming she poses an imminent emotional and psychological risk to the child. So the rapper filed the docs Wednesday morning asking for an emergency hearing because he says Halle has made plans to fly with their son, Halo, to Italy on Saturday. So DDG says the court shouldn't allow this because Halle isn't mentally healthy enough to care for herself and their child, and he worries about what she might do if she leaves the court's jurisdiction. Alright, so DDG provides examples of alleged conduct he thinks is troubling, claiming Halle once took his gun and left the house without telling him where she was going. DDG alleges he ultimately found her outside, just holding the weapon. He says she was pregnant when the incident went down. He alleges Halle once tried to have an abortion behind his back, but says she ultimately changed her mind and decided not to go through with it. Okay, so on another occasion, 2 months after Halo was born, DDG claims Halle sent a series of alarming text messages threatening to kill herself and suggesting that their infant son, Halo, might also be harmed. So, as we all know, Bailey has accused DDG of abusive behavior in the past, including once when she alleged he slammed her face into a steering wheel and chipped her tooth. And this is all according to TMZ. So I think that this is a very crazy relationship. I think that if DDG is really telling the truth here, that this girl, Halle Bailey, is a huge psychological risk to their own son because of the fact that she's kind of crazy-ish, supposedly. Well, I believe that this girl, Halle Bailey, needs to be checked out immediately by like a social security worker, or she needs to get checked out by a psychologist or by a therapist in order to make sure if this woman is actually safe enough to be the mother of this child. And I also believe that DDG needs to be checked out by a therapist and by a social worker too, because there's also claims against him that he is a violent person too. Because we need to be considerate of the fact that this child needs to be in a safe environment by safe guardians and shouldn't be around guardians that are endangering his life, because we are talking about an infant here that needs to grow up around a safe environment and that needs to be receiving good examples by guardians in order to become a really good adult, especially. And also, we need to be really considerate of the fact that this child also needs the care. But unfortunately, I just think that this whole entire situation is all about pointing fingers here and there. Oh no, she can't do this. Oh no, he can't do that. Oh no, this is awful. This is bad. all of this is just resulting into getting the issue even more altered, and all of this is also causing a lot of alarming signs that there should be a divorce going on, and that this child might as well need to have a guardian, two guardians that will take care of him. And I believe that by two guardians, I mean two guardians that should be adopting him and that really care about him a lot, so that way the child, like I said, could be in a very safe environment with lots of care, lots of love, lots of respect. And I know that it's going to be pissing off DDG and Holly Bailey if things really get down to that sense, but it's going to be for the best of the child, because in this world that we live in, violence should not be accepted at all. Okay, and this whole entire violence thing is already stemming because of the fact that there could be a lot of huge, massive differences from Holly Bailey and DDG that we might not know of, that could be from, I don't know, cheating maybe, or maybe there could be a lot of insecurities going on from one side or from the other side or from both sides, that maybe there could be something going on fishy between them that could cause the whole entire violence going on in between Holly Bailey and then this guy DDG, which could really stem from the fact that there could be psychological issues with Holly Bailey, and of course stemming psychological issues towards DDG as well. So there's also that. So there really needs to be a lot of checking in going on here. We cannot just sit here and be like, oh my god, well maybe they're gonna get better and maybe things are gonna get better and that's it. No, we really need to be really on the lookout here, ladies and gentlemen. This is just so darn serious. So darn serious. And if you're gonna be in a family that has an abusive behavior issue, then you know what? That's really definitely an alarming situation in all levels. And by alarming, I mean a super alarming situation. I mean, God forbid that something happens to this child, like getting killed or getting abused or etc., etc. God forbid all of this happens. And if any of that ends up happening, then you know what? DDG and then this woman Holly Bailey, I can already see them behind bars, especially because if there's one thing that this country does not condone is any violence, especially towards any infants. Okay, so that is a whole entire warning to DDG and to this woman Holly Bailey. All right, now that is it for today's show, ladies and gentlemen. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's lovely episode of The Jose Show. Till next time, and peace.